What's up, guys? My name is Zach, and this week I've been driving the 2024 Acura Integra Type S. Up front is a 2.0-liter turbocharged inline 4, and down below is a 6-speed manual transmission. Now, I'm super excited to be making this video because this is one of my most anticipated vehicles of the year. Ever since they announced the Type S was returning to the Acura lineup, I was on the edge of my seat, and so I've spent the last 6 days driving this car around, and I have quite a few thoughts. Now, I'm going to try to keep this review fairly neutral to not sway any buyers one way or another, but once we get to my final thoughts segment, I will unleash my full, unabridged feelings. But if you would like to have your vehicle reviewed here on the channel, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form, takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. But let's get back to that 2.0-liter turbo under the hood. Well, what you'll quickly learn throughout this video is that this really is a Honda Civic Type R underneath. So it shares an engine, transmission, differentials, things like that with the Honda Civic Type R. It's a 2-liter turbo. It makes 320 horsepower, which is actually 5 horsepower more than the Type R. Not really sure where they squeaked that out of, but it is more power. The engine is amazing. It's fantastic. It's a K-Series engine that they've been using for over 20 years, but they keep tweaking it and keep making it even better and better. So reliability isn't really a question here on the table. K-Series have always been fairly reliable. That's why tuners love them. And so that's the case here in the Integra Type S as well. Like I said, paired to it is a 6-speed manual transmission, very notchy throw, really enjoyable. And this vehicle does have the ability to turn on auto rev matching. You kind of have to dig through the menus to find it, but the auto rev matching has been very good in my time with it, and the transmission is one of the key highlights of the Integra Type S for sure. Last but not least, the Integra Type S is front-wheel drive. A lot of people think that these are all-wheel. Unfortunately, they are not. They only come front-wheel, and Honda has really stuck to its guns when it comes to front-wheel drive in their vehicles. The Type R is front-wheel drive. The Civic Si is front-wheel drive. There is no current Honda Civic offered in all-wheel drive, nor the Acura Integra. So, just something to keep in mind. How does it feel to drive an Acura Integra Type S? Well, it is phenomenal. The shifter is exactly where I want it to be, and it feels exactly how I want it to feel. The steering is direct. It is front-wheel drive, but you don't really feel that at all because of these fantastic tires that Acura put on it. Taking a corner at speed is going to be fun, and you're going to be bolted down to the road. I cannot say enough good things about the driving experience, and 320 horsepower is more than enough to have fun, not only around town, but on the highway. In 6th gear on the highway, it still has the acceleration to pass people, which is beautiful and not always synonymous with 4-cylinder vehicles. Fuel economy, 21.4 miles to the gallon. I have averaged over 337 miles. Not a stellar number. However, I have been dogging on this car and driving it much like you're supposed to drive the Integra Type S. So I've not been easy on it. I'm sure you can hypermile and get a lot better fuel economy than that, but I wanted to have fun this week, and I did so, and while doing so, I got 21.4 miles to the gallon. Not terrible, not great, but hey, I was having fun along the way. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have a nearly completely digital gauge cluster. I do have coolant temperature and fuel to the left and right, but in the center, I do get a decently customizable gauge cluster, which I really like. When you switch the drive modes, the colors change, but you can also switch the information on the sides of what you see in the center of each gauge, or you can even turn it off to just have it blink. Really love all the different options that Acura gives you. On the steering wheel, on the left, I have my skip track, volume, and voice commands, and off to the right, I have my adaptive cruise control and lane keep assist. This does have passive steering assist and radar cruise. However, because it is a manual transmission, the radar cruise isn't amazing because it never prompts you or asks you to downshift or what gear you should be in. You just kind of put it into 6th, and it will operate in that narrow window of 6th gear. It will speed you up to 70, take it down to 60, but when you start to come to a crawl, it kind of just disappears disengages and lets you figure it out. So it's not going to be as thorough as an automatic transmission car's adaptive cruise, but at least you still have something here in the Acura. I also do get a little Type S badge down at the bottom, and the steering wheel is finished in perforated leather. Off to the left, I have a climate control vent and my traction control off. And moving on to the door, we have the latch to get in and out, the ELS Studio 3D speaker, which the sound system is pretty good. It's not the best I've ever heard, but for this caliber of car, I'll take it. Power mirror adjustments, power locks, and power windows. Moving into the center, we do have our infotainment screen. This is pretty run-of-the-mill Honda, really. I've seen this in like the Civic, the CR-V, HR-V, vehicles like that. This does have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which are wireless, and it does have a pretty decent backup camera seen here. However, one thing that's missing is that the Honda Civic Type R, of which this car is based off of, gets the Log R app, which allows you to data log while driving. I understand that the Civic Type R is more driver-oriented, but I would have liked to have seen that since it's a cool feature nevertheless. Moving down the center stack, we do have two climate control vents and the hazard switch. Unlike the Civic, the vent doesn't go completely across the dash, it just goes this little portion, and I like how that looks. And then we have our climate controls, dual zone climate, which is decently hard to find in this chassis, but the Type S gets it. Heated seats, auto, heated mirrors, things like that. Really enjoy those options. And then moving down below, we have a USB-C and USB-A. The Civic Type R from 2023 that I drove only gets USB-A, so nice to see that addition of USB-C. 12-volt outlet and the wireless charger. The wireless charger is not the fastest thing in the world, but it works with my phone, which can't be said about Toyota products. Moving into the center, we do have a couple of things around the shifter. Off to the left, we have our drive modes. So we do have Sport Plus, Sport, and Comfort, as well as Individual, which lets you customize. Now for Individual, I've set it to everything Sport Plus, except for the ride quality I have set to Comfort, because Illinois roads pretty much require that. However, again, like the Civic Type R, I wish that this got the R mode, which changed the gauge cluster and made it feel a lot sportier. The Integra Type S doesn't get that feature, so I would have liked to have seen that carried over from the Civic Type R. Then we do have the power parking brake and brake hold, and the shifter. Like I said, the shifter feels fantastic. It's been wonderful all week. Very clicky, very Honda, on brand with that, and I love shifting this car. It's one of my favorite things in the whole wide world. But down below, we do have cup holders, so we will do a big friggin' bottle test here in the Acura Integra Type S, and unfortunately, yet predictably, it fails the big friggin' bottle test. Then we do have a little center console, nothing really of note in there, and then we'll talk about the seats. The seats are very noticeably way less aggressive than the Civic Type R. These are normal, traditional Acura seats. The Type S embossed in the headrest, which I absolutely love. Love that little touch. Reminds you when you're getting into the car that you're driving something a little special. And overall, I've really enjoyed my time in the seats. They're comfortable, and being a bigger guy, it's not always a guarantee that I'll love sporty seats, and yet I love these Integra Type S seats. However, speaking of seats, we do have back seats, so let's go do a back seat review. All right, so we're in the back of the 2024 Acura Integra Type S, and it's not the comfiest, coziest back seat I've ever been in. Knees are just barely touching the front seat, but if I adjust my position, they're not. Head is coming close to the ceiling, but again, not touching it. I get, latch get in and out. I don't get any vents back here. I would have liked to have seen that, and I don't get any center console. Would have liked to have seen that, although this is technically a 2+2, so there are cup holders in the center here, but this isn't crazy good back here, but it has usable back seats. A lot of Civic SIs, the old Coupe Integras, the back seats were awful, and so this is a huge leg up and step up from the old stuff. However, speaking of space and whatnot, let's hop around the very back. We'll take a quick look at the trunk and cargo space, and then we'll talk about the looks. All right, around the back of the Integra Type S from 2024, and there's two buttons down here. I'll show you real quick. This is to lock the vehicle, this is to open it. So when you first buy your Type S, you're probably gonna be hitting this one a lot and just locking it instead of opening it. Don't worry, everyone does it, or at least I do it all the time. Once we are back here, we do have some little stuff, ELS Studio speaker back here, little cargo net, and we can pull this up, and we just get a fix-a-flat system, no spare tire here in the Integra Type S. However, I like that it's a hatchback, but I wish that if it was a hatchback, it would be hatchier, if that makes sense. I wish that because it is a hatchback, it would have gotten more rear headroom. It doesn't, so it still looks like a coupe, or still looks like a sedan, should I say, when the hatch is closed, and I wish that it was just a little bit more exaggerated, but you know what? The original Integra was this way as well, so I guess they stuck on brand with what they know. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and I really do like the look of the Integra Type S. I actually love it very, very much, and this is finished in Apex Blue, which I think is a wonderful color as well. I love the wheel arches that the Type S gets. It gets bigger wheel arches, it gets a hood vent, it gets the rear carbon fiber spoiler. You can notice those big red front Brembo brakes. I think overall it's a very, very cohesive car, and I think visually it outperforms pretty much every other car that I've driven in recent time. However, with all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think driving one of my most anticipated vehicles of the 2023 season? Well, I was a little worried about this review because I had hyped this car up so much in my mind, and now I was worried that it was going to be one of those meet your hero scenarios, but it's not. It's so not. This car is the best. I have been grinning ear to ear since Acura gave me this car last week. Every time I get in the car, I get butterflies in my stomach and a smile across my face. It is so delightful, and let me tell you why. First of all, right off the bat, the driving experience, 320 horsepower, wonderful. Shifter, wonderful. Steering, handling, sound, the exhaust crackles. Take a listen. I love that. That makes the car feel so alive and unintrusive. It's not too loud. It's not this crazy exhaust that will wake your neighbors, although my neighbor did text me and say, hey, that Acura sounds pretty good. And I said, why, thank you, sir. Yes, it does. I think it looks fantastic. I'm like the parent of a newborn. Anytime it stands up or walks a little bit or has food on its face, I take a picture. I take a picture every chance I get of this car. My camera roll is all Apex Blue at the moment. So it looks great, it drives great, has great features, wireless Apple CarPlay, adaptive cruise, heated seats, individual drive modes, the ELS Studio sound system. So it has amenities, it's fun to drive, and it looks good. And it's practical. The hatchback, although I don't love the hatch as a concept, I love the usability of it. I love that this is a four-door. Everyone says, oh, it should have been a two-door, and yeah, maybe, but they did make four-door Integras back in the day, and this is so usable. This is more usable than a Toyota GR86. The trunk is more practical than the GR Corolla. The interior is easier to use than the Golf R. The exterior looks more sophisticated and grown up than the Honda Civic Type R. This car comes manual, where the Mazda 3 Turbo doesn't. And so yeah, there are a handful of things that I don't like too. I wish that it got the Log R system from Honda. Would have loved to have seen that, since this is basically a Type R underneath. And I don't love the fact that it gets 3 trumpet exhaust pipes out at the back. I think that is the only gaudy part of this Type S. So because of those things, this car isn't perfect. But that's the beauty of being human. Nothing in this world is ever going to be perfect. But it's the pursuit of perfection that breeds greatness. That's what makes this car so special. That's what makes this car wonderful, is that it's not perfect, but it's trying its hardest to be. And in that trial and error phase, it has found something truly beautiful. This car is a one-of-a-kind, once in a decade, maybe once in a lifetime automobile, and especially with the combustion engine starting to enter its final phases, we might never get a car like this ever again. So for right now, I'm soaking it in, and I am pleasantly loving this Type S. It has become, and I'm willing to say this publicly, my favorite press car I've ever gotten. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Acura for letting me drive their Integra Type S for a week. They've been fantastic to work with. Everyone over at Honda and Acura is wonderful. Also, huge thank you to Drive Shop for facilitating the delivery and cleaning of this vehicle, and of course the Midwestern Automotive Media Association for just being so doggone good. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'm gonna go enjoy the Integra Type S a little bit more, so don't mind me. Take care, guys.